She was just the friendly crossing guard who helped kids get to school safely, until the school bus lost its brakes, and her 25 years of air traffic control experience turned a potential tragedy into a miracle. Welcome to Hidden Valor. Before we share this powerful story of service, sacrifice, and hidden courage, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe real heroes deserve recognition, hit that subscribe button. Eleanor Rodriguez was everyone's favorite crossing guard. At 58, she took her position at the intersection in front of Maple Elementary School every morning at 7:15 sharp. She'd put on her bright yellow reflective vest, pick up her stop sign, and ensure every child crossed safely. She'd been doing this job for 3 years, and the neighborhood kids loved her. They called her Mrs. Safety because she was always extra careful. She'd monitor every car's speed, try to make eye contact with every driver, and never rush the process. Ellie's a bit obsessive about safety, parents would say, but we never complain. Our kids are safe with her. Ellie had peculiar habits that people noticed but never questioned. She always carried a small radio for emergencies, she'd say. She could spot approaching vehicles from unusually far distances, as if she had radar. Her voice carried an authority that made children obey without question. But nobody questioned these details. She was just Ellie, the neighborhood's guardian angel. What they didn't know was why her voice carried such natural command, or why she seemed to see traffic patterns before they developed. In Ellie's home, there was a room no one ever saw. The walls were covered with old aviation certificates, photographs of air traffic control towers, and annual achievement awards. On her desk sat an old radar screen, no longer functional, but sometimes she'd look at it and remember the old days. She had worked at Los Angeles International Airport from 1985 to 2010. LAX, one of the world's busiest airports. She had managed the takeoffs and landings of hundreds of aircraft daily. Emergency situations, dangerous weather conditions, engine failures, she'd seen it all. Tower, this is United 447. We have engine failure, requesting immediate landing clearance. These kinds of calls were her daily routine. She would stay calm, make quick decisions, save lives. In 25 years, not a single accident had occurred on her shift. When she retired, she wanted a quiet life and moved to this small town. But her instincts had never dulled. The skills that once guided 747s through emergency landings were now quietly watching over a school crossing. Maple Elementary had never experienced a serious safety incident. Parents joked that their children were safer crossing with Ellie than walking in their own driveways. She had an uncanny ability to predict traffic patterns, often stopping children just seconds before a speeding car rounded the corner. Ellie's preparation was meticulous. Every morning she'd arrive 15 minutes early to assess conditions, weather, visibility, traffic flow patterns. She monitored the timing of regular commuters, knew which drivers were habitually late and therefore rushed. The local police respected her judgment. When Officer Martinez had suggested relocating the crossing to a different intersection, Ellie had calmly explained the sightline issues, vehicle approach angles, and pedestrian flow dynamics with the precision of someone who'd managed much more complex traffic patterns. How does a crossing guard know about approach vectors? Martinez had wondered aloud. But Tuesday mornings were always the busiest. Parents running late, delivery trucks making early rounds, school buses navigating their precisely timed routes. If something was going to go wrong, Tuesday morning at 7:45 a.m. would be when. That Tuesday started like any other. Ellie arrived at 7:10, checked her equipment, and surveyed the intersection. Clear skies, normal traffic, children getting ready for school. Maple Elementary School Bus, number 47, arrived every morning at 7:45 sharp. The driver was Frank Miller, a 15-year veteran with an impeccable safety record. The bus carried 30 children every morning, ages 6 to 12. That morning, Ellie sensed something was different. Number 47 was approaching faster than usual. The engine sound was wrong, higher-pitched, strained. Frank's facial expression showed concern, not his usual calm concentration. At 7:44, as the bus approached the intersection, Ellie understood. The bus wasn't slowing down. From her position 150 meters away, her trained eye immediately assessed the situation. Bus speed, approximately 35 miles per hour. Distance to intersection, decreasing rapidly. Rate of deceleration, 0. Her mind automatically calculated what would happen next, the same way she once calculated aircraft approach speeds and runway lengths. "Frank, hit the brakes!" Ellie shouted, but the bus continued approaching at dangerous speed. Frank was wrestling with the steering wheel behind the windshield, frantically pumping the brake pedal with no effect. The children on the bus hadn't yet grasped the seriousness of the situation. Some were laughing, others looking out the windows, but 30 young lives were in danger. At the intersection, two cars were positioned in harm's way. In the left lane, Sarah Chen had just dropped off her daughter and was preparing to make a turn. In the right lane, Mark Thompson was heading to work, waiting for the light to change. Both were unaware of the approaching emergency. Ellie's mind shifted into a mode she hadn't used in years, but muscle memory took over immediately. Speed calculations, trajectory analysis, collision avoidance protocols, all the skills that once prevented mid-air disasters now focused on preventing something far more personal. Time to impact. Approximately 8 seconds. That's when Ellie's true identity emerged. She pulled out her radio and switched to the emergency frequency. Her voice instantly transformed. No longer the neighborhood crossing guard, but the seasoned air traffic controller who had managed crisis situations for 25 years. All vehicles stop immediately. This is emergency code red. Sarah Chen in the left lane, execute immediate left turn now. Mark Thompson right lane, full stop and clear the intersection. Her tone carried such absolute authority that both Sarah and Mark complied without hesitation. Sarah quickly turned left. Mark immediately stopped and pulled aside. Ellie began running toward the intersection, raising her stop sign. But this wasn't a normal stop sign gesture. This was the same positioning she'd used when giving emergency landing clearance to aircraft in distress. Frank, can you hear me? The bus was 100 meters away and closing fast. Frank rolled down his window. Ellie, the brakes are gone. Frank, listen to me carefully. Engine brake now. Shift to neutral. Engage emergency brake. Most importantly, maintain steering control. You're the pilot. I'm your controller. Recognition flashed across Frank's face. Ellie's tone gave him confidence. This was someone who had talked people through emergencies before. Ellie was mentally calculating the bus's trajectory with the same precision she'd once used to guide emergency aircraft landings at LAX. Frank, 50 meters to intersection. Turn steering wheel gently right. Aim for the school playground. The grass field will slow you down. But the children, Frank shouted. The children will be safe. Trust me, I'm going to guide you to a safe landing. Ellie repositioned herself in the center of the intersection. She extended her arms and began giving directional signals exactly as she had done for aircraft approaching the runway at LAX. Precise, confident movements that left no room for misinterpretation. Right turn now. More. Good. The grass is slowing your speed. The bus entered the school playground's grass field at 35 miles per hour. But on the soft turf, the bus began to decelerate. 30, 25, 20. Frank was using the engine brake to its maximum. The emergency brake was fully engaged. The bus was slowing, but still moving toward the large oak trees at the far end of the playground. Ellie, the trees! Frank could see the massive oaks ahead. Don't worry, Frank. 30 feet to go. Turn steering wheel left. Enter the flower garden. Soft landing. The children inside were now aware something was wrong, but Ellie's calm commands over the radio kept panic at bay. The bus entered the flower garden at 5 miles per hour and came to a complete stop. The engine died, but no one was injured. All 30 children were shaken but safe. Ellie ran to the bus. Frank, children, is everyone okay? Frank's hands were trembling. Ellie, how did you do that? As the children exited the bus, parents were running to the scene. Police sirens could be heard approaching. An ambulance was on the way, but the most shocked person was Sarah Chen. She got out of her car and approached Ellie. Ellie, you gave me orders and I obeyed without question. Your voice was so authoritative. What was that? Ellie took a deep breath. Her secret was about to come out. I'm a former air traffic controller, Ellie said calmly. I worked at LAX for 25 years. I controlled hundreds of aircraft daily. I managed emergency situations. Frank's mouth fell open. Air traffic controller? Yes. Instead of aircraft today, I controlled a school bus. But the system is the same. Quick decisions, clear commands, safe landing. Sarah asked in amazement, why didn't you tell us? Ellie smiled. Because I'm retired. Now I just wanted to provide crossing safety for children. Something simpler, more peaceful. At that moment, police officer Dave Wilson arrived. Dave was a former Navy pilot who had taken off from LAX many times. Ma'am, can you explain what happened here? As Ellie began explaining the situation, Dave's eyes widened. You worked at LAX? I took off from there many times, Rodriguez. Are you the Rodriguez from the tower? Yes. Dave came to attention. Ma'am, you saved my life. In 2003, I had engine failure. A female controller in the tower guided me to safety. The pieces were falling into place for everyone watching. The story spread throughout the town. Maple Elementary's crossing guard was actually an experienced professional who had controlled one of the world's busiest airports. The next day, when Ellie came to work, there was a small crowd at the intersection. Parents, children, teachers, everyone was clapping. Mrs. Rodriguez, said Principal Peterson, I don't know how to thank you. Ellie nodded. I just did my job. Which job? Asked little Amy. Crossing guard or airplane controller? Ellie knelt down to Amy's eye level. Amy, they're the same job, getting people safely to their destinations. The local news wanted interviews, but Ellie politely declined. She wasn't interested in fame. She was interested in service. Continued service. From that day forward, Ellie continued working at the same intersection. But now no one thought of her as just a crossing guard. Parents entrusted their children to her with even greater confidence. Frank returned to work with a new bus. Ellie, he said one day, you're my co-pilot now. The children started calling her Captain Mrs. Safety. She would smile and give them little salutes in return. A week later, the school principal came to Ellie with an offer. Mrs. Rodriguez, would you consider becoming our school district safety coordinator? We'd like you to develop safety protocols for all our schools. Ellie thought about it. Is this similar to my old job? Exactly. Instead of aircraft, you'd be getting children safely to their destinations. Ellie smiled. I accept. But she insisted on keeping her morning crossing guard duties. Some jobs, she said, were too important to give up. The most powerful stories are lived in silence. People like Ellie walk among us doing ordinary jobs until that critical moment arrives. That's when their true identity emerges, and we remember that heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they just wear bright yellow vests and carry stop signs. Have you ever met someone like Ellie? Someone who looked ordinary but had an extraordinary past? Share their story in the comments, because at Hidden Valor, we value every moment of silent service. If this story moved you, subscribe and share. Let's keep giving voice to the hidden heroes. Thank you for watching, and remember, the person helping your child cross the street safely might once have guided jumbo jets through emergency landings. Look closer, listen deeper, honor always.